Cannabis Common Sense, the show that tells the truth about marijuana and the politics behind its prohibition.
Welcome to another exciting edition of Cannabis Common Sense. We have a couple of activists from the other Maine, Portland, Maine, tonight with Kennebec River Farms. We have Glenn and Catherine Lewis, longtime activists back there. So stay tuned for a great interview about the situation in the Northeast. Until then, though, let's bring on our infamous dancing cannabis leaves.
I feel the force.
Okay, so if you are a loved one or looking for help finding a doctor who can help you with medical marijuana, we have a referral service. We'd be happy to help you. Call us at 503-235-4606. That's 503-235-4606. Without further ado, here's our interview. Keep working to restore hemp. Good night. I'd like to introduce Glenn and Catherine Lewis, who are out in Maine. And what's the name of your business, folks?
It's Kennebec River Cannabis Company and Homegrown Acres.
Okay. And I know the situation in Maine has evolved a great deal, and it's caused some shakeups in everybody who's tried to get in this industry's plans. Well, first of all, let's talk about the process there in Maine, how medical became legal and when, and how recreational rolled in.
Well, we've had some friends of ours that have been working as activists since 1980 was the first initiative where we legalized here, and then the governor actually vetoed it. That pushed it out to our 1999 medical marijuana law, which came just after California. And it really opened it up for folks to get their medicine from somebody they knew that was growing. There really wasn't an avenue, though, to go to a storefront, say, or somebody that you didn't know out of the backyard. So through the process over the last few years, and us lobbying after around 2009, we fought because they tried to take our citizens initiative and take our affirmative defense away from us. So
That's really when Glenn and I got involved.
And by they, you mean your state legislature there in Maine. Is that right? Okay.
Yeah.
So, here we passed, our medical marijuana law as a citizens initiative. We spoke as people here, and now all of a sudden, law enforcement started raiding people and arresting people again for growing medicine.
Mm-hmm.
And that it was beyond me to think that something that worked so well for, I have a neurological disorder, syringomyelia, that I could go to jail for utilizing something other than a pharmaceutical.
Yeah, something that the people had voted in favor of and made legal. So what were the law enforcement's rationale? I've helped medical marijuana patients all across the country, so I've seen this on a national basis. I see there's kind of like a learning curve for the police, where at first they're going to want to keep busting people. But once they go into court a few times and have the cases thrown out because they're legal medical cases, they generally change their attitude. Is that the way it worked there in Maine?
And we had our Affirmative Defense Action Committee with LD 1296 that restored the fact that this is our medicine and it is our defense here in the state, and that we, the people, had voted for that. There was about 25 of us that got together, and we all thought that we were risking a lot to speak up and speak out, but we were effectively able to get together and make law and change law here and restore that initiative, and make it safe and for people to be able to cultivate and take care of themselves.
Did you do that through the legislature by going and lobbying state legislators?
Yeah.
We did.
Yeah, it was a group of caregivers, dispensary owners, doctors, lawyers, law enforcement. We used to meet at Dr. Sulak's office about once a week and put together the new initiative in 2010 that restored what the people had voted on. And it allowed caregivers to exist and to be able to cultivate for 5 patients at a time. So that was literally all you could do, was 5 patients at a time. And they also had taken away the outdoor grow, which made it non-affordable for the average patient.
Right.
So we got that put back in as well.
Mhm.
As kind of where we started in it. They made stupid laws like we could each be a caregiver in our house, but I could not take care of his plants. He could not take care of my plants. So when his syringomyelia acted up and he was in bed, I wasn't supposed to go into the other room and water his plants. But they have no way of knowing. It's not like they had cameras in our home. So it was a stupid law, non-enforceable. And so we had to go back to the State House and change it. And we've been at the State House every year since then. Every single year we've had to fight for our rights.
And Catherine and I helped establish a trade association for caregivers here in the state of Maine, Medical Marijuana Caregivers of Maine, when we established the caregiver program as a small business model, if you will, and it was 30 plants or less, and within 500 square feet. And, it allowed for small cultivators to be able to do a really, really good job and take care of, a handful of people. Like I say, there was, and she said, 5 patients, and we could rotate a patient in and out of a patient's slot. So it was 5 patients at any given time.
Language was key.
And language was key. So I could see somebody or she could see somebody, and then, hey, what time is it now?
Terminate that relationship to take on another patient.
And that led to us educate law enforcement, where we actually went in and taught classes to law enforcement about the law, and where they didn't have a right to come in and search a patient's house or anything without any improbable cause or whatever, just because of a smell or something of that nature. So it really it changed things in a large way. And there was a group of us that were at it. We just lost one of them. Donnie Christian was a great advocate.
I'm familiar
here
with him. The main vocals guy.
Yes.
I had a CD that he put out that I love the music on.
Yeah, well, he passed away last week.
Yeah, I saw
he
that.
He had COPD, and it was rough for him. But we honor him. We have his funeral coming up in a week and a half.
Yeah.
Good people like Donnie. In 2018, we rewrote the medical marijuana law. There was a group of caregivers and a state representative and a state senator, Deb Sanderson and Eric Brakey, that used to meet at our office. And we were able to rewrite everything to simplify it and to expand the program to allow caregiver storefronts, unlimited patients, caregiver to caregiver sales, to really make it a true business. Before that, we were only allowed to have 1 employee for no good reason. We had a high unemployment rate, but yet we were limited to having only 1 employee, which made no sense. It was completely arbitrary.
I've never heard of that before. I've never heard of a business being limited to the number of employees they could have.
Yep, it was nonsensical. So in 2018, we did change that. And that's something that Glenn and I have been very, very proud of.
Yeah.
We made a lot of changes. at that time through the organization Medical Marijuana Caregivers of Maine. And we also at that time implemented LD 238, which allowed manufacturing and extraction labs. Before
So
that, there was
in
no
2019?
legal. 2018.
2018, okay. And
Yes.
when did adult use cannabis, I don't really like the term recreational. When did adult use cannabis become legal there in Maine?
Adult use came into play in 2016, but it really didn't take effect until 2019.
Okay, so it was kind of in conjunction.
It took a while for them to get their act together.
Yeah.
And we're still trying to fix it. At the same time, there was a lawsuit by one of the larger dispensaries, Wellness Connection, about the residency requirement. We had put a clause in to try to keep it small. Maine only has 1.4 million people in the entire state. So we were afraid of this market getting saturated and diluted. And Wellness Connection fought that, and they said it was unconstitutional because of interstate commerce laws, which doesn't apply because you can't cross state lines with cannabis anyway because of it being federally illegal. But they won their case. Maine chose not to rebut that. And so exactly what we said was going to happen has happened. We have been diluted. We have a huge influx of out-of-state people. They allowed the cultivations to get very large through the dispensary model. So right now, Maine is suffering as the West Coast suffered with the fall of the market.
Yeah,
So
I think that
changes now.
the Drug Policy Foundation really pushed a model on us that would benefit their own circle of friends, that
Right.
the Drug Policy Foundation, which is mainly funded by George Soros, came in and they implemented their law in Washington. They pushed us out of the way and implemented their law in Oregon. And it's been their circle of friends and billionaires who have come in to manipulate and take the market by and large. That's my belief.
Yeah, well, we've had an ongoing fight with our Office of Cannabis Policy here against mandatory track and trace and mandatory testing because of the way they implemented it with the adult use market. Not that we're against it, we're against the way they implemented it and their requirements for the small businesses. It wouldn't work. And that has ultimately hurt the industry because we now have people bringing cannabis from out of state without the track and trace. There's no way of knowing where people have gotten their products from. And then we've also had a huge influx of the Asian triad market that is using the caregiver model as a front for doing illegal activities. And so we're having to rework that. We're working with the state and with our local labs to adjust the adult use market testing and track and trace. And then hopefully we'll be able to implement a smaller model that is enough to protect us without being overburdensome for the small caregivers. Because most of the businesses here are less than 500 square feet of cultivation, one retail store only. So they're fairly small.
I see.
And we don't want to see them put out of business from regulation, but we also don't want to see them put out of business from illicit markets.
I know your business has been put through several changes. Do you want to tell us kind of how that's rolled out for you?
Sure. So we started off, our business name was Homegrown Healthcare of Maine, and we really focused on cancer patients, veterans, and addiction recovery. Seemed to be our three main areas. We had a large facility where we had a doctor's office doing recommendations. We did one-on-one consults. Mr. Glenn is making our Thanksgiving pie, so.
Oh, well, necessity
Timers were just
dictates you don't
off.
burn those.
No. And we grew, we processed, we did one-on-one consults, and then we customized meds for our patients. After the influx of dozens of stores on the same road that we're on, we ended up shifting and closing our med store and moving it into our farm where we're at now. And we went back to the independent caregiver model. So the patients that we have come to see us, we still customize, suppositories, transdermal patches, tinctures, whatever they may need. We also are well known for our soft chew gummies with different formulas, and we are wholesaling now to other stores that don't really have that in their wheelhouse.
Mhm.
So we can help white label customize and meet with patients to help do consultations at their store locations.
I see. I
To
see.
really kind of change things. And we've also rebranded ourselves to Kennebec River Cannabis Co. A lot of people liked our name and kind of borrowed it. So we wanted to go back to being kind of independent and unique.
And a big part of what we've done too is we've taught people how to make their own medicines, whether it be from the fully extracted cannabis oil, or RSO, as a lot of people refer to it, or making a coconut base that they can use in other food items, along with butters and how to clarify butter and things of that. So we've gone around and done a lot of different festivals and shows where we could do hands-on training and show a larger amount of people that, hey, you don't have to necessarily spend, say, $50 to $100 a gram for the fully extracted cannabis oil when you could make it at home yourself, and this is how you can do it and how you can do it safely. So that's been a big passion of ours as well. We had folks that knew this stuff, that coveted this stuff, this information for a long time, and how this could be utilized as a medicine. And, that was shared with me. A gentleman that taught me how to grow cannabis got the seeds at Woodstock and started growing Afghan bud off the coast of Maine here. And when they approached me as a medicine, I'd been clean and sober for about 6 years. And I really wasn't interested in re-entering that, so to speak, gateway drug.
Yeah.
With the dare mom.
As I learned through recovery, but lo and behold, it's absolutely saved my life twice now. Once from pharmaceuticals, from the syringomyelia, and then again I had late stage 4 oropharyngeal throat cancer.
Wow.
So it's offered us an opportunity to dive deeper into what you can do with this plant. Not that we were treating my syringomyelia on the surface, but the depth of knowledge we gained from going through my cancer treatment is just tenfold.
Yeah. When did that happen?
That was 8 years ago now.
2017.
Okay. Just around the time you were changing those laws.
Yes.
Yeah. And, it was pretty ironic. They gave me, less than 5 months from diagnosis to live, to finding a study. Dr. Dustin Sulak found a study, out of the Israeli Institute of Medicine that supported the combination of the cannabis oil alongside traditional treatment. It had enveloped my lymph chain and was getting ready to come through the skin. I had an inoperable tumor the size of a golf ball behind my tongue.
Wow.
In a matter of weeks, when I went to Dana-Farber,
It was 10 weeks that we were able to get the liquid tincture and the suppositories into him. He had 12 lesions that went down his tongue that they could see when they put the scope in before they would get to the big tumor. And when we got to Dana-Farber, which was our third opinion, we started off in Portland, Maine, then went to Mass Eye and Ear, and then Dana-Farber. By the time we got there was 0 lesions on the back of his tongue. They could not see them. They thought they had the wrong patient file. And I'm like, no, we could see them.
Yeah.
I saw them, and now they're gone. We didn't realize they were gone until we got there. But at that point, they decided to at least try Glenn with chemo and radiation, which they weren't even offering before that. They said he was just too far advanced.
Mhm.
And at 48 years old, that's a pretty scary thing to be told to go home and figure
Die.
your stuff out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So
So,
we were very lucky.
so you took tinctures and suppositories. Did you have the FICO, the full extract cannabis oil in that?
Yes. Yeah.
So
He went to 2,500 milligrams orally and rectally
I see.
a day.
So that's
He
2.5
was a little
grams.
bit out there.
Is that 2.5 grams?
It depended on the tests of the FICO,
Yeah.
but about that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Approximately, probably if you averaged it, because it was a 1-to-1 ratio, CBD to THC, and the idea was that the CBD would act like chemotherapy and keep the cancer from spreading into the healthy cells, while the THC would go into the tumor and remind the tumor cells, the cancer cells, that they were supposed to die from programmed cell death. So
Toast.
yeah.
So is Dr.
Yeah.
Sulak, is he located there in Maine?
He is. We're very fortunate that he is here in Maine. He was just literally down the road from us at that time.
Yeah, he's
I've heard
in
his name, but I've never spoken with him. But I've been I know a lot of doctors across the
He
country.
should.
They speak well of him.
Yes.
So
Yes. He was very helpful and gave us hope throughout the whole process, because the traditional doctors literally gave us no hope whatsoever.
So
And it's nice that we're able to take the experience that we had and use that with other cancer patients. We have tons of caregivers locally that will call and refer their patients to us just because they need someone to sit down and talk about the reality of what it's like. You know, people think that just take the RSO, it'll build up in your system, it's good to go. It's not fun.
Mhm.
Glenn was higher than high, and
Yeah,
he was sick,
can't
and
talk.
he said it was the worst hallucinations that he ever had. It was the worst trip that he ever had, but he did it every day because the alternative was death.
Right. Well, and chemotherapy itself is very debilitating and makes your hair fall out and you throw up a lot and you can't eat. So it's akin to that,
Yes.
but your hair
And
doesn't fall out with the
he did
cannabis.
go through it.
Uh-huh.
We did do the full traditional treatment as well. And I say we loosely, but it was hard to watch him go through that and to help him through that. There was 2 other gentlemen at the cancer center that had the same type of cancer that he had, which for him, it was HPV related throat cancer. And they one of them was stage 2, one was stage 3, Glenn was stage 4. And through the treatment, we watched those 2, both of them end up in wheelchairs, so weak to get in and out of the hospital for their treatments, very, very sick. They did not listen. We tried to talk to them about what Glenn was doing for the CBD and THC, and they died. One died in the middle of treatment, and one died a little while after he had a relapse. And he went through immunotherapy too, and he didn't make it. And it's really sad to think that we couldn't get them to get past the stigma and think about even trying it. The other thing that was unique about Glenn's cancer was we made a topical salve for him with the THC, CBD, as well as a lot of other herbs that we grow here at the farm. And he would do the traditional aloe gel after the radiation that they suggested. But then after that, we would put the salve that I made him on. He has absolutely no scarring. His skin is very soft, whereas the damage that usually happens is very scaly and hard that goes on, forever. The sores, the burns. He didn't have that. He was very, very fortunate.
Yeah, well, that's great. Just this morning on NPR, I heard a national story from a doctor at Harvard Medical School saying that medical marijuana doesn't really work and people should investigate it and look at our study and see how medical marijuana doesn't help all of these conditions. And I don't know who paid for his study, but and what his patient base was, but it's that kind of propaganda we're up against. So those people who were there and saw your husband while they were going through chemotherapy, they believe that. And they didn't try this natural alternative plant medicine. And they paid the price. And so that's the thing, these people who are putting out this information, I don't know if this guy honestly believes that medical marijuana doesn't have the efficacy that we know it has, but or if he's just shilling for the dollars. And that's what I suspect is that he's doing it because he's getting paid to do it. And if he was getting paid to do a different thing, he would have a different result. Go ahead, Catherine. I didn't.
Yeah, sorry. Harvard Medical School hosted Dr. Raphael Mechoulam. I saw him there, I think, 3 times.
And Dr. Lester Grinspoon was there, and Dr. Norman Zenberg. Some giants in the field of medical marijuana were there at Harvard Medical School. And Mechoulam, for our audience who don't know, Dr. Raphael Mechoulam was from Hebrew University in Israel, and he discovered the THC molecule back in the 1969 and 70. Then in 1981, 82, he discovered the endogenous cannabinoid system for the endocannabinoids, the body's cannabis-like chemicals that modulate all neurological signaling. Cannabis runs counter to the direction of most neurotransmitters, and they modulate the others and create homeostasis. And so how medical professionals can put out studies that are ignorant of these basic facts today. Now we have medical schools teaching this, but they're not the ones who get on national NPR. They're these other people who have the financial backing of the pharmaceutical company. One of the very first medical marijuana doctors had a great term for it, Dr. Todd Mikaria. And Dr. Todd said it was the monomolecular mercantile madness that drives the medical industry. And it creates this sort of information for money is what they're just trying to enrich themselves in this process instead of really helping the patients. That's been my impression.
Yep. Yeah. It's sad. Now that we've moved everything back to the farm, we've actually closed our adult use store. We closed the medical store last year, focusing on the wholesale, but we've also turned our farm into a retreat. We've put some cabins and camping sites that are cannabis friendly. We're doing educational classes again. I'll be hosting some workshops in my kitchen to teach people again how to make their own medicine at home. Here in Maine, adult use and medical can grow their own. So they need to know what to do with it, especially if they're not into smoking. So that they can use it as a full wellness tool and supplement like their vitamins. They need to supplement their endocannabinoid system. So we'll be teaching the workshops. We're having different events here, some music events similar to what Donnie Christian did at Harry Brown's farm.
Yeah.
We reach out to the community, so we'll be doing some veteran farmers market events.
Now, we've done a veterans event every year now for the last 8 years.
Since 2017.
Yeah. And the first year we did it, we did well over 100 recommendations, for veterans, and there's been growing up around a bunch of Vietnam vets that came back home. I saw firsthand the amount of support that they had, and the lack of medicine and guidance.
Support that the Vietnam veterans endured on their return. There were so many young people that were against that war and didn't want to get drafted to go fight it, but the veterans returning often were the best ones to argue against it, but they faced a lot of community ignorance, basically. I also am a service-connected disabled vet, not from the Vietnam era, back when Jimmy Carter was president. But we get to help a lot of veterans here as well. So,
Yeah, so that's the passion of ours, is to be able to give back and help take care of our veterans here in Maine.
My dad was diagnosed with glioblastoma in
when was that?
2015.
Okay.
2015. And at the end of it, he ended up in the hospice unit of the VA. And he did not want to go through morphine. He didn't want to be he wanted to be alert and there for my family.
Present with us,
So we started giving him the FICO, and when he was admitted, the doctor knew what we wanted to do and said, that's up to you. It is federally illegal. It's not allowed here on the campus. And if any of the nursing staff catch you, you will be arrested. And so I had to sneak every night and go watch baseball with my dad at night to give him his oil. And then I would pop a Werther's butterscotch candy in his mouth to cover up the smell. And it was amazing because he never had any signs that he was high. Yeah. It worked for him. It took care of his pain. He did not need morphine, and they literally gave him morphine the day that he died. That was the only time he gave him morphine.
I mean, although we couldn't save him, we made his exit that much easier. And it seems oftentimes that's the case. We have folks that by the time we're encountering where they're at in their cancer, they're really, it's their last resort rather than coming to us first and being the first trial or having or developing at least a regimen for folks to go through once in their life to clear themselves of cancer. If people could understand it like a vitamin, a daily maintenance vitamin.
Nutraceutical. There's a fancy word for it, right? So for you, Glenn, when you started the oil treatment, how did you learn about it? And I understand it made you very, very high. What would you like to tell our audience about that? And how long did you take it?
So, I was at about 200 milligrams a day for my syringomyelia at the time. So, that kind of lifted me when I first started taking, 100 milligrams at one time. But over time, I became really accustomed to that, and I didn't even notice it. And I knew that titrating my dose was going to be an important part of getting up there. But I also knew I was up against the clock. I didn't have a lot of time. Yeah, there's
a bunch of it. It's pretty fluid. Is it been warmed up
every day?
So this is 800 milligrams. It's 400 milligrams CBD, 400 milligrams THC,
and an MCT oil.
Yeah, and MCT, and it's broad spectrum, meaning that I used a huge selection of strains rather than strain specific.
That's what I always do. What does MCT stand for?
Coconut oil.
Okay.
Medium chain triglyceride.
Okay.
It makes it easier for the body to absorb it.
I see. Okay. Go ahead, Glenn. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just wanted a definition.
So when we started, considering the amount that I was going to have to take, I thought, boy, oh boy, I'm not going to be able to even begin to function. If 100 milligrams, set me up the way it did, and it took me probably about 3 weeks at 100 milligrams to get accustomed to it, like adjusted, and okay, I got my feet under me, and then probably another 3 weeks before I never really even noticed that I was taking 100 milligrams twice a day. And it just blended in with my daily thing. I thought, my God, I'm going to have to take this large dose like this. Where am I going to be? What planet am I going to land on? But I was willing to do whatever I could. My daughter was pregnant, and I wanted to see my grandson born. That was my goal. That would drove me like I can't even explain. So Catherine, made up the first batch, and we blended it with a blackstrap molasses and what else? Blackstrap,
Flaxseed oil
flaxseed oil,
and MCT.
and MCT, and so it was a whole bunch of capsules. Then I wasn't actually just taking the drops of oil. We would fill the capsules up, so we knew each one was a measured capsule. We knew what the test result was. So the first week, I think I looked at Catherine at one point, and I was like, I don't want to be this high. My skin was crawling, like it was almost like electrifying. You know. But at the same time, I persevered. I knew that I didn't have a choice. I was facing certain death. That was the result.
There's a misconception. Go ahead and take it before you go to bed and just sleep through it. That does not happen.
You wake up and you're
He
high.
was awake all night, and he was like, honey, let's go outside and look at the stars. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
He couldn't be in the house. He was like claustrophobic. He needed the fresh air.
I remember when I took it and I laid back in bed, all of a sudden when my head hit the pillow, I bounced straight back up like I was on a springboard. I had that spin sensation. It was almost like an alcoholic, like drunk type of spin thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I could remember everything perfectly clear. I wasn't inebriated. I was just disoriented at first. And we get out on the porch watching the stars. It was the Percy media shower. And she goes, honey, it's kind of cold out here. We need to go in, So I was able to go in and lay down for a minute again. And again, as soon as my head hit the pillow, I was back up straight. It had such an effect on me that I couldn't even believe that I was still on this planet, So, yeah, but again, by titrating that dose, what did I go to 12?
Within just about a month and a half, probably. By 10 weeks.
Yeah, by 10 weeks, I was all up to the
full dose.
The 1250 THC and 1250 CBD. So it was really quick. It wasn't taken like they suggest with the Rick Simpson protocol.
Yeah. A third of a gram 10 times a day of the pure oil. Yours was more.
We didn't have the time.
And I have my notebook. I should have grabbed that, but my dosage, it was every few hours that I was ingesting, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of milligrams to be able to get
take that. How long a period did you take that dose?
I took that from I took that right up until that spring, and then I had Shauna cut the dose back. It was in May.
Mm-hmm.
I started cutting my dose back, but I started at that high dose. It was almost a year, 11 months, 10 months at that high dose.
And he would take raw oil as well. Like he would take like little pea-size amounts and wrap it up in the smoking paper.
Yeah.
Rolling paper.
Willie Nelson's road manager did the exact same thing. And I've got an interesting story. I won't bore you with that right now, but he showed. I first saw someone do it that way from this guy David Anderson, who's Willie Nelson's road manager. But I was giving him RSO, and he said, "This is how I take it." And he showed. That's the first time I saw it. That was about 85 or so. About 84, 80. No. You're old when you get the wrong decade. 2014. That's right. 2014. I'm only off by about 30 years there. So you took that for a year. After you take in that large dose for a couple of months, how did it affect you then? It didn't have the same psychoactive effect, but it still had the anti-cancer properties.
He still was high. He never stopped being high. He wasn't as high, and he could function. As a matter of fact, while he was going through that, he was making FICO for other cancer patients at our shop
Yeah.
and teaching them how to do it while he was sick.
So I was able to still function relatively well, but high, you know.
Yeah.
Now, at the dosage I take now, I don't notice that at all. I take that first thing in the morning, and I have no effect from it.
What's that dose now?
800 milligrams. It's
Okay.
400 and 400. Yeah.
And you take it 3 times a day?
No, that's just my once a day now.
Just
That's my
once in the
maintenance dose.
morning. I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
I also make him some soft chews that he takes in the afternoon.
Mhm, mhm. Well, one thing we didn't mention here is that we met on a panel in Boston on the Boston Commons. It was the Boston Freedom Rally. I guess it's the 35th year they've had that event. It was my first time to go to the Boston Freedom Rally. I'd heard about it many times over the years, but we shared a panel there for in the hemp education tent, and it was great to meet you there. And glad we can get you on the show here. So if somebody's interested in contacting your business or you, what should they do?
Well, we have our website, Kennebec River Cannabis,
How do you spell that?
and KENNEBEC, Kennebec River Cannabis. You can get us through there. Our phone numbers are listed on there. Our office number, our cell phone numbers, our email, it's all on there. So we're pretty easy to reach. All of our old contact information for homegrown healthcare is still out there and still links to us. We are on Facebook, each individual, and Homegrown Acres is our farm. So we also do hemp and cannabis.
So you said that you'd set up some yurts and places where people can come and stay. How many units like that do you have?
Right, we just put our first cabin in, and then we've also got about a dozen tent sites, and our goal is to get 10 cabins.
Okay.
And then we have a barn, we do weddings, we do different events.
Well, maybe we'll come out there and stay for a few days, my wife and I, at some point. That'd be a nice treat. It's a long way back and forth. If you ever get into Oregon, I hope I get a chance to show you around, but it's hard to leave your business when you're entrepreneur. You can't leave for long unless you have really good people there to help you. And
it's really 15 years since we've been able to, go anywhere for any length of time. But we do look forward to traveling at some point here in the near future, though.
Well, if you get out here to Oregon, I'd be happy to show you around. We have some pretty nice sites. I know you have a lot of them there in Maine as well. How far are you out of Portland, Maine?
About an hour.
Okay.
Yeah, just an hour north. We're right off the 95 corridor, 4 miles from the interstate. So we're very, very convenient to find.
All right. So, how did you first come to the cannabis business? I mean, let's go back a little farther. We've still got about 15 minutes to go here or something like that. What drew you to cannabis? I know personally I was drawn to cannabis at an early age. I tried cannabis when I was 11 at a babysitter's house. The babysitter's son was back from Vietnam, and he's the one who first used marijuana with me a few times, and I enjoyed it. And so I was drawn to it from that point forward. What was your evolution in that regard?
Oh, for me, I grew up down in Booth Bay Harbor, which is coastal. We have 3 rivers. It's pretty well known as a smuggling community for the last 400 plus years. So there was a whole bunch of that stuff. There was smuggling boats that came in, and there was that allure of the pirate life, if you will. But my cousins participated in that pirate life, and they were all way older than I was. I was just a young guy. These were some of the Vietnam vets and so forth that come back. Some of them World War II vets even. You know, and they supported using cannabis, and lo and behold, they had me picking stuff up and putting stuff down, and the next thing you know, I'm rolling joints for them, but I'm not smoking. I wouldn't smoke. This is when I was 11, 12 years old. Um, and you know, they all were gainfully employed, worked at local shipyards, and they would fill their cigarette packs with all these joints and go to work and get rid of their cigarette pack while they were there. So I was the kid that got to roll all that stuff, and you know, I could see that there was definitely a medicine behind it then, because them guys that were smoking that stuff, whenever there was a get together, they were the guys that were just sitting around laughing, having a good time, while watching the other folks that were participating in drinking and other things, were the guys getting in fights and arguing. And so at a very young age, I noticed that difference. But you know, I had a predisposition to alcoholism, so that took my life in a different direction, away from utilizing cannabis as a way to just unwind and have an easy day. I chose alcohol instead for quite some time, and then learned on the other side of it that you know, this is a life-saving medicine as well. But I also learned how to make that fully extracted cannabis oil when I was 13 years old.
Oh,
We were
nobody
making
called it that then. Nobody even really, you know, they had that machine that they sold in High Times, the isomerizer, that did it. It was the same thing, but nobody called it full extract cannabis oil. It was hash oil, right? It was the hash oil machine.
There was no kitchen knife that was safe.
Well, that was from the sea
Hot
hash.
knife. The young
Yeah.
folks won't remember those hot knives. You put on the electric eye burner and heat it up and
Yeah,
sizzle
right.
your flowers or your oil or hash.
Yeah.
We had the smuggling boats that came into Boothbay Harbor. The Coast Guard chased them in, and they were throwing the hash over the side of the boat. And I had a friend that had the GPS, the headings for the where they were throwing it off, because he had some fishing gear right there. So he was able to go back and drag that stuff up, and
right.
folks around Boothbay Harbor smoked that sea hash for about 15 years.
Gross.
So, Catherine, how did you come to be a cannabis activist? It was him. He drew you into it.
I
was a good girl.
She wanted to take a cutting off my cousin's Afghan plant that was fully flowered in the bay window. Was it 80?
83.
80?
Yeah, I was collecting plants from my mom because we had just moved home from Alaska, and I had no idea what cannabis was until I met him. But that
How old were
wasn't
you
my
then?
thing.
How old were you when you met?
We started dating when I was 14.
That's pretty young.
Yeah, I was 14. He was 15.
Ah, well, that's a pretty close age. That's good. Boy, that's
Yes.
a long relationship.
Yes, yeah, that's been going on for a while. Our daughter is 40 and our son is 37. So we started everything a little bit young. I got into the DARE program and worked with our local sheriff's office to teach kids that just say no.
Right.
Until Glenn started using it for syringomyelia. And then there was such a stigma around it. I wanted to see if I could help normalize it, you know, and make it a safe business. So that's really why I got involved.
After the medical marijuana law was implemented there in Maine, or was that before that?
At the beginning of it, yeah, when it first started.
I see.
Yeah, I wanted to try to find ways of doing it so that Glenn didn't have to smoke it, because I thought it was the devil's lettuce. And I was sure that when Dr. Sulak told Glenn he should try medical cannabis for his syringomyelia, that was going to lead him back to drinking and anything else. Oh, I was furious and fit to be tied that they were even considering using medical marijuana, because there was no such thing. It was a gateway drug.
But just like that doctor said on NPR this morning, you know.
But when I saw that it took a year working with Dr. Sulek and they weaned him off from 9 different prescriptions so that the only thing he was using was medical cannabis and his symptoms were well controlled. That's really what got me on board. And now I'm having to get back into the activism side of it. We've just recently had a case in Maine that a caregiver got on the radar of the feds for one reason or another.
So this is Luke.
And Luke, yeah. And he and his father were both just now convicted in federal court and are facing a mandatory minimum of 10 years to life and up to a $10 million fine.
You
And
introduced me to his lawyer.
And make some changes.
You introduced me to his lawyer, and I hope to interview that lawyer in the near future. But he was doing a medical and recreational business there, licensed by the state, inspected by the state.
Not recreational, just medical.
Oh, just medical. Okay.
Yeah.
But it was licensed by the state.
Yes, but it was in a large facility, and he pushed the envelope for many years and made notice of a lot of people.
And he sold to the dispensaries, had the cash checks and everything from them, but once they stepped outside of utilizing the medical or recreational laws that we have in this state and just enforced federal law, that's what really got our attention.
At the end of the court case, during the closing arguments, the prosecutor said to the jury, and this really hit me because this is what we all do, says it doesn't matter if they were in full compliance with their state regulated program. It's federally illegal. We proved that they possessed, that they had intention, conspiracy to possess, to distribute. You have to find them guilty. And they did.
I went through, maybe you don't know, I went through a federal marijuana trial myself back in 1993, before medical was recognized in any law. And if I had been convicted, I would have had a 10-year mandatory minimum as well. And so fortunately, I was acquitted of growing marijuana and simply found guilty of possession of 2 grams in my pocket, which, because I had a prior, it was still a felony under federal law. However, I have a pardon from President Biden for that now, for that simple possession.
Wow.
So thank goodness for that. But
with this case, Paul, they had 12 lawful caregivers that had individual rooms, renting rooms within a facility, which isn't an uncommon thing when you talk about large warehouses.
Now, but when that first started, it was uncommon and it was considered a caregiver collective.
Yes.
So they had to get their paperwork. So we're not saying that there weren't reasons why they got on the radar. There was.
Mm-hmm.
But they tried to follow the law as best they could from what we can see. And regardless, the 10-year mandatory minimum needs to be abolished. It needs to go
away. And the jury
away.
can't be told. The jury doesn't know. They think, oh, they're going to get a slap on the wrist and be put on probation. They don't realize that when they find the person guilty, that they're facing a decade in a mandatory minimum sentence. They can't really know that. And if they find out after they've convicted someone, the jury is often upset. My impression is the most important part of any trial, if you're going to go to trial, is voir dire, or the jury selection process. And you have to be really careful to weed out, so to speak, the ultra conservatives if you can. And that's why you get that selection. But I guess in his case, in Luke's case, he wasn't able to do that. So
and they weren't able to bring up anything about the state program.
Yeah. So
we're back to teaching caregivers, mind your P's and Q's, keep your documents the way they're supposed to be. Don't get on anybody's radar. There is no more Rohrabacher-Farr Amendment. There are no known protections. And it says right in the state of Maine law this is not a protection against federal law.
Yeah, they shouldn't have that in there. You know, they should challenge the federal government on that. That's what and we had the same thing happen here in Oregon. The medical marijuana program office stresses that it's not protection from federal law. And I hold that they should be fighting in favor of their program instead of conceding that point. And again, I talked to the folks who work with the Drug Policy Foundation, and we were working on the recreational law, and they had that in their law. And I said, you got to take that out. And they said they would, but they didn't. They left it in there. So, you know, these, the moneyed interests have their own agenda, and they don't care how many of us are sacrificed in their pursuit of wealth, I guess you'd say.
That's true.
We are about out of time here, Catherine. Is there anything that you'd like to say in closing?
Oh gosh, I think that everybody that might be watching needs to look into all the different available avenues of cannabis use and start looking at it as a nutraceutical, as a supplement to a total wellness program, and looking into the medical program, the hemp program, adult use program, whatever they have to better their lives. I think too many people are still afraid of it. And there's a lot of resources out there that we didn't have, a lot of education available. So hopefully all the viewers will be able to get themselves up to speed with what's available now.
And
So
if I could say,
you'd like to say in closing, Glenn?
yeah, if I could say, Paul, that, you know, it's really important to keep in touch with your representatives, both here in your own state and in DC. We need to change the federal laws. We really got to get there and get this done. I think one of the most important things is that we declassify. We can't reclassify. We just need to be done with this. We got to stop this whole war on this plant, and we got to treat it like a medicine. It's a plant, a tomato, if you will. I know we'll never get to that point, but you know,
No, we will. We're going to get there. You might, you know, just like Martin Luther King Jr. said, I might not get there with you, but as a nation, we're going to get there.
Yeah, exactly.
Eventually.
And you know, if somebody is really good at cultivating this thing, they ought to be able to flourish and provide us with their talents around what they can do, rather than this monocropping thing that we've been sold throughout our agricultural industry. So,
Well,
yeah,
we're about out of time. Let's hear one more plug for your website and your phone number for anybody who wants to reach out.
Our phone number is 207-395-5447. And our website is KennebeckRiverCannabis.net.
All right. Well, I want to thank you guys for coming on our show, and keep working to restore hemp. Good night.
you got it.
Absolutely.
Thank
Happy
you.
Thanksgiving, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and all that.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Back
Take
at
care.
you.